then next, we have to really think about why we have the IEP, and it's there to track students' progress. It's a record, it's a running record, a live document, whatever we're going to call it, that shows the student's progress from point A to point B to point C to point D. Okay, now if the IEP is not serving that purpose, or if you're not feeling that the student needs one, the question we always should be asking, does the student really need an IEP? Okay, so we're constantly reflecting and questioning, during the process, is this working, and does the student actually need an IEP? Okay, because this has become a question that I've gotten in a lot of schools, is should we have one, shouldn't we have one? I can't answer that. I think the school teams can answer that, and some of the factors we need to consider when trying to answer that question are the following. Okay, so students who have to have an IEP would be coded students, so those are a must. Okay, those are the students that have to have. Students with learning difficulties. Okay, and then there's this huge gray area, which are students at risk. Okay, so how do we define a student at risk? Perhaps the student has a history of academic failure. Perhaps they're older than their peers, or they've repeated a grade. They have emotional, behavioral, medical issues, substance abuse problems. And you can read the rest of the list. Okay, so those are the three categories of students who might need an IEP. So coded for sure, learning disabilities, and then this at-risk category. Okay, so once you look at that, you can also ask yourself, what am I doing differently for this student? What am I doing specifically for the student? How am I tracking what I'm working on? We're trying to get from point A to point B to point C to point D. How am I doing that for the student? What am I doing differently? Okay? And this really comes into question with this whole concept of flexible pedagogy, okay, which is our best practice. We're differentiating, and the QEP is assuming, if you read the opening parts of the Quebec educational program, they're assuming that we're taking into consideration learning styles, we're doing differentiation, we're using those best practices all the time. So, if we're using a graphic organizer, if we're changing the seat of the student, if we're allowing them to work in small groups, that is just flexible pedagogy. That's things that teachers do on a day-to-day basis that, if we were to have to write all of those things down, our jobs would become very tedious and all filled with paperwork. Okay, so we always start with flexible pedagogy, all right? That's just our good teaching practices. And that flexible pedagogy is going to be, if let's say you're thinking that a student might need an IEP and you're looking to your school level special needs committee, that's what you would be tracking for that 30 to 40-day period. I can't remember. I think it's 40 days prior to actually starting the IEP, that you're tracking that you've done all of these great teaching practices, and for whatever reason it's just not working, and I need to move over into adaptations. Okay? And then, we work from adaptations and then modifications. I just want to at this point say that the government has put out this document here called Flexible Pedagogy, Pedagogical Flexibility Adaptations and Modifications. So you can just search this in Google, search the title, and don't be fooled. A lot of the Quebec documents have this same front page, okay, but this is the title. And you can read that over for yourself if you want to have a little more understanding of flexible pedagogy, adaptations, and modifications if you still have questions, which many people still do. So I really highly recommend that you give that a look yourself, and come to in your school teams, you decide. Okay, so that's that part in terms of examining who needs an IEP. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So again, thank you guys. Basically, I think the bottom line is you need to have an awesome team that understands what they're doing, that is really, working together. And I just want to thank you guys for that, for being team awesome. As you can see, I love my Bitmojis. And lastly, but most importantly, I just want to say thank you again for all of the feedback. Without the feedback, I would not be able to address the issues that continually come up with teachers. So I truly appreciate when you do talk to me about certain issues within the system, talk about, how to conquer some of the problems that we have when when implementing, writing, and thinking about IEPs. So please continue to contact me. I really appreciate your valuable feedback, and I hope that you found this video helpful. If anything, you can always send me a quick email or phone me if something wasn't clear, but I hope this clears up some of the issues that we've had. Okay, thank you. Bye.